Welcome to the latest Watercolors Aquarium Gallery podcast, brought to you from the Aquarium Rush Studios in downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan. My name is Ben.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Charles.
How many people out there have pets other than fish? Like, do you think that's a thing? I know when we did the studies...
Do you think it's a thing to have pets that aren't fish?
Yeah.
I think so.
But
I've
like,
heard
how
legends.
many people? Obviously, everybody listening is a fish person,
Right?
Or you'd be horribly bored and go, "What the heck are they talking about?" But it's definitely the case that if you have fish, you probably have another pet.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need that warm and snuggly.
Of course.
Yeah, or that slimy and gross, or slithery or beady little eyes or something.
I mean, cute, right? Fish
Yeah,
can be
that's what
cute.
I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that until they start to get into it. Like, they want an aquarium. They think it's cool. They think fish look nice swimming around. They've heard about, like, oh, there's some stress relief. I want to learn something new. And then they get into it for a while and realize, oh, I actually like fish, too.
Yeah.
So it takes a while. You don't think about them as having personalities necessarily unless you've kept a fish tank before.
It seems like the first thing you go for is the display.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or the community.
The community. Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to step right in because this goes really quickly into the first one I wanted to do.
We didn't even say what the podcast is,
I
though,
know.
right? That's what you're doing now.
That's what
All
I'm
right,
doing
Go
now.
for it.
I put
Roll with it.
the first thing I wanted to put, and I literally have it here, any fish that makes you happy.
Huh. Any fish that makes you happy. No.
Yeah,
No.
it is for me.
No. So what we're really talking about here are not just those fish that you have because they become an integral part of your display, or because you're trying to breed fish and trying to adapt that challenge, but that individual, that fish that becomes a pet, that interaction. And I guess, okay, that fish that makes you happy.
Yeah, I've seen people literally pull that off with any species of fish.
It's true.
Like, I've seen
Yeah.
people who can identify each individual neon tetra they have, and they know them as individuals, and I'm like,
There's something impressive about that.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. That's true.
And something different draws everybody in. There's different personality. Like, so many people, snails is the thing. Like, the first thing that they're like, oh, that's really cute.
We see that with snails. We had the snail person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I actually have criteria.
You have criteria.
Yes.
Ooh.
So this is the top 5 wet pets. We didn't say that fully, I think, or top 5 pet fish in freshwater. My criteria for what makes a wet pet was interactive, outgoing, singular, and human focused.
That's good criteria.
So not necessarily something that needs to be kept alone, but something that has a distinct personality.
So I had a little bit of debate as to how I wanted to approach it, because we just said top 5 favorite pet fish, right? And I thought, well, should I go with this kind of fish, or this kind of fish? Or should I talk about some of those individual fish that actually were more pet fish?
Right.
I went with the latter, not the former.
my
So-
criteria was actually pretty similar to Amy's, but I wanted to start off and kind of acknowledge that, like, your criteria might be different than mine, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just that means that my list is going to be very different than yours.
Right. Well, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I did find that we may need to rename this into the Amy Eats Her Words episode, because I think almost everything I wrote down was something I had talked negatively about before. Because some of the characteristics that make something an excellent pet make it irritating in a community tank.
That's no question, for sure.
That individualness, that it doesn't have a need to get along.
Yeah. I actually talked about this with my wife, who has a pet fish and has had multiple pet fish, and talked about, like, how do we come up with this criteria? And she started going through some of the fish that either she has had or I have had or we have had over the last however many years I've been doing this that got names.
Yeah. They
And
earned
it's
the
a-
name.
That got names. Yeah. So I have some particular fun stories about some of those fish, and that was how I chose it. So Charles kicked it off with any fish that makes you happy. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to allow that one or not, because I get to be a little bit of a moderator every once in a while.
Here's
Or
my
if-
like.
Yeah,
For
give me the elevator
this was
pitch.
the nail in the head that made me be like, I want to say that is that fish so often get treated like consolation prizes.
It's true.
And so I'm like, if a fish makes you happy, or you get to know that neon tetra as an individual, that's a pet. You know, like you're not settling by taking home a neon tetra.
No, and I don't think saying that, you know, my group of Inlay Lake Rasboras or Inlay Lake Danios now that I've had at home for something like 12 or 14 years, they make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you which one was which, and there's no individuality to them. For me,
Yeah.
For somebody there might be.
Yeah.
And to me that
no
was
one at this table is that person, by the way.
Yeah.
for me, part of it was that was part of the criteria, that there's the individuality of that fish. It might be in a community tank, but there's just that one.
Yeah. And it earned a name.
It earned a name.
And in a school of fish, usually that name is, the asshole one.
That's a true story.
No, I just
Or the opposite, the one who gets picked on all the time.
Yes.
yeah.
Right.
I just wanted to acknowledge the viewpoints of people who think differently on this list than we would.
How
And-
pacifying you can be sometimes, Charles.
But it is an important distinction because for some people, every fish is a pet to them.
Yes.
That's very true. Yeah.
And that's valid, I think. I don't.
It's valid.
That's not how
You're
I
right.
view it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I decided to talk about. Oh, I'm sorry. Were we ready?
Well, I was just thinking I have to eat my words on that because of my friends Robin and Jarrett, who have an amazing reef tank with lots of fish in it, and they know every single one of them by name, and we call every single one of them their pet.
True.
Fine, Charles, you could have that one. But Amy, you still got to start.
Okay. So I went with one that is more common, but often becomes the pet fish in a community tank. It was one of my top 5 least favorite cichlids because of how often this scenario goes wrong. But I put angelfish.
I think that's a great choice.
They're so human focused. Their personalities are dramatic. You can have an angelfish that's just an absolute jerk to everyone. You can have an angelfish that really only cares about you. But either way, you're going to feel the presence of that fish in a tank. Even if you have 6 of them, even if you have 10 of them.
There's going to be the one.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we speaking a particular species or a genus here?
I would say the domestic angelfish for me. The wild angels, yes, but there's definitely something very pet-like about a domestic angelfish. They're constantly begging. They love treats. They will solicit for them, but they will also accept a little bit of attention sometimes too.
Yeah.
There are so many cichlids that can fit that criteria, and angelfish are. Let's face it, they're amazing and popular for some very, very good reasons. There's nothing like them.
There really isn't.
Even taxonomically speaking, there's nothing like them.
And it's something big and showy and gives off a really distinct impression, and you can do it in a 30-gallon tank.
Yeah. I think it's a great choice. It's a good starter. Good way to get things going.
It's an easy one.
Yeah.
You skipping over me since I jumped the gun earlier?
We could do that.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with the cichlid theme. And like I said, I totally went with a different direction on this and decided, rather than saying, what fish should you get if you're looking for that pet fish with all the personality, and went to, what fish have I had that have been more like pets than just a look how cool that fish looks. And I got to do a shout out to my boy Biggie.
Yep.
He totally deserves it.
He does. Biggie Smalls is the frontosa that I honestly don't know how long I've had Biggie Smalls.
So you told me he was around 13 or 14 when I started 5 years ago.
Wow.
And that sounds about right, because when I first started 3 years ago, you said 16-ish.
I think it's been 16 for 3 years now, so
Is
he
he
might be
that
getting
old?
close to 20.
So I know I got him when it was before I started working for the company in 2006,
Wow.
but right around that time. So I bet he's 16 or 17 Wow, Biggie is an old fish.
He's starting to act it too.
Yes, he's a grumpy old man. And Biggie started out living in my basement. Did I get him? I got him when he was 2 inches long.
Oh, baby Biggie.
Yeah. Yeah, and he grew up in my basement. And my wife, Robin, would go down there on a pretty regular basis. And Robin doesn't just go down and look at fish and feed fish. She talks to everything that she sees. And so she would talk to Biggie. She'd talk to all the frontoses in the tank. He was in a 110-gallon tank with a bunch of frontoses. And she would talk to him on a regular basis. And it got to the point where she would come downstairs, and as soon as she would say something, Biggie would come out of the rocks. Mm-hmm. It even was the point that eventually we moved Biggie and the rest of those guys down here. Biggie's the only one of the frontoses that are left of that group. Biggie comes out of the rocks when she opens her mouth. Biggie still recognizes the sound of her voice through the aquarium and still comes out. He's old and grumpy, and just about every day I come in, not every day, but regularly I look to go, if I don't see him, I wonder if it's the day, because they're not supposed to live this long.
Right.
But that's Biggie. He's been the king of the tank for a really long time.
The dynamic now that he's old too is he's still the king of the tank. Like nobody else will mess with him, and really we're keeping a cichlid tank for him. Like
Right.
He's the whole reason.
Right.
But now he won't chase anybody away. He doesn't really care so much about his spot in the rock anymore. He's gonna hang out in the back of the tank, and the wimpiest Mbuna in the tank uses him as a rock. He will literally hide up behind him, underneath him, and Biggie won't react to him, but when the other ones come out to kind of harass the little one, he's like, what are you doing? Get out of here. Like he can still lay down the law, but just doesn't care so much about things that don't matter.
That's perfect.
He's so cool.
The thing that really makes him like he's that crotchety old man is that the one thing he can't stand is when the fish are being loud. I've seen him break up fights that were apparently too rambunctious for him.
Mm-hmm. He will still come up front if everybody's going at it just a little bit too hard.
He's big enough that he just has to get between him, and then
Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to mess with that guy.
I wouldn't mess with him either. He's a big fish.
Frontoses are such a great example of like a pet cichlid fish, though, because usually people go for like the super aggressive. A frontosa isn't super aggressive. He's pretty chill.
Just big and beautiful.
Right. Like you see the flower horns, like they'll still come up and thrash at you at the tank and go like wild.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
just coming up to see what you're up to, like to see if he can get some food.
He's just simply curious as to what's happening in his surroundings.
I love that guy.
Yep. He's a good fish. It's been a good fish for a long time.
Yeah. You could almost just say cichlids for this list, and it was kind of tempting.
You kind of do. Yeah, that's true.
Even the little ones.
Yeah. Deserve the recognition.
Absolutely.
All right, Amy, what's your number 2?
All right. You can't have this conversation without talking about puffers.
Absolutely. 100%.
And for me, the ultimate pet fish puffer is a fahaka. It's interactive.
It's hard to argue with that.
It's not
Yeah.
going to hide. It's not going to get so massive that it's impossible to handle like the mbus do. They get around a foot to 18 inches, so a 125 I think is a great size for them.
Sure.
And that's doable. And they will give you that puffer personality.
I'm almost going to... Like, do you really have to pick one?
You don't.
I had a pea puffer. His name was Waldo. Mm-hmm. He was in a big Planet aquarium with a bunch of platies, and that was the thing. Where's Waldo? And often, 1 out of 4 times, you'd be looking for about 5 minutes for Waldo, and all of a sudden you'd realize he was right in front of you.
Just the little
The whole
googly
time.
eyes, like, why aren't you feeding me yet?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Fahakas are hard to beat. I mean, they're pretty incredible puffers.
To me, a fahaka and a pea puffer are probably the closest 2 puffers in personality. One is just an
Yeah.
inch long.
Yeah. I've seen green spot puffers get that personality. I've seen even the South Americans.
They still get great,
They're
yeah.
puffers. Yep, they're puffers. The only ones that to me don't have the personality are the potato ones. The
Yeah.
ambush predators.
But it's just a different look. Like, I follow a couple people who have them, and they are hilarious. They're so fun to watch, but they're not going to give you that same thing that the, I don't know, the water column puffers are going to give you.
The puppy dog smile and begging and...
But the burying in the sand and looking grumpy thing is pretty cute too.
That's true. Yeah, Fahaka puffers had to be mentioned. I did not put a single pufferfish on my list, but I'm glad you brought up puffers so I could bring up Waldo.
Yeah, I'm not gonna they are definitely not the smartest fish. Everybody thinks they're super intelligent.
Yeah.
They're not.
No, they're food beasts.
With eyes that just make you want to love them.
And smiley faces.
They are like equivalent to like the dumbest dog you've ever known in your life.
Yes. Yeah, they're big lab retrievers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what
Yeah.
you want from your water pet, that's great. Like Allie has
yeah.
the exact right personality for it.
Absolutely.
She
Uh-huh.
loves
Yeah.
He loves spoiling them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably, like, of all of the fish on the list, the main reason people buy puffers is because they want a pet fish.
Yeah.
Right? The main reason people buy angelfish or frontoses are not necessarily that they want a pet, but sometimes they can become that. But a puffer, you buy one of those because they're cute and you want a pet.
If you're only putting one fish in your tank, it better come and interact with you.
Exactly. Good one, Amy.
Thanks.
Charles, I do this often because, you're kind of like the wild card when it comes to this kind of topic.
He loves
Right.
poking holes.
Yes. Yeah. So I was really curious to see what your list would include. So
You'll like this first entry of a real fish because I'm going back to the cichlids. I specifically want to call out Ultim angels.
as a pet fish.
Yes, because that group we've been working with, they have really captured my attention because, like the scalars, that's the right species name.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't quite captivate me. They're a little too domesticated. They're a little too you know how like you can sometimes look at a certain dog and you're like, yeah, we've definitely dumbed this thing down.
Has science
Like a
gone
pug.
too far?
Yeah.
The Ultims don't have that. Their personalities working with them almost remind me very much of like a centroprise marine angelfish.
Yeah. I get exactly
sure.
what you're talking about.
They can very clearly identify individuals. They can very clearly identify, like, they're curious about their environment. One of the things that's really interesting to me about them is they're very reactive. Like, they'll still, like, if you put a hand up, they'll flinch away, like, oh, there's a thing. And then, like, literally half a second later, they'll recognize, oh,
Zero
it's you,
in.
and then come right back.
Wow.
And I'm just so interested in, like, the ability to react that fast and then immediately come back. That is processing information so fast.
Right.
And so the more we've worked with this particular group of them, the more I'm like, these are very distinct from other angels I've worked with in freshwater. And that makes them really interesting to me to see where they'll go as they get older.
Like, they didn't react to me until the morning I dropped food in there, and now they do. One time.
Wow. All right, we need to test this experiment because I've never fed them.
Yeah. And it could be that they were settling in, whatever.
Yeah.
Behavior is always going to be like, this is kind of what I saw, and then I put my own interpretation behind it.
Well, that's what we do.
But I swear, it was like a switch.
That's very cool.
Like, do they like all group up and zoom at you when you go up to the tank?
No.
So
No,
I
they
wonder
don't.
if we could try it.
Yeah. I think we have to.
They definitely do that to both of us.
Yeah. And I've only fed them literally one time because we just got our new flake food, and I'm like, well, let's see if they like it. Well, they do. They eat everything.
All right, I'm going to go try it. We're going to pause. No, I'm just kidding. The lights are off. We
I
can't
need
go
a beer
pause.
too anyway.
Oh, we do? Okay, hang on. We're going to pause.
And we're back. We didn't try to feed the angelfish because the lights were
I know,
off.
all the
But we
lights were-
did get beer,
We-
so
yeah, so we're good.
we're good.
We're good.
We
Yeah.
can keep moving.
And I'm agreeing with Charles that actually both of you that angelfish make good pets, and yes, there's a significant difference between
Yeah.
having a scalar pet and having an ultim pet. A little bit like having I'm not quite going to go pug, but like having a lab and a wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Like
even
the
like a bird dog or something that seems very purposeful, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I like
Ultims
it.
just retain a little bit more of that wildness that I want from a fish.
They're
It's good.
sharper. Yeah.
That's good. Well, I'm going to talk about one more cichlid. I don't know if you guys have more cichlids, but I'm bringing up one more cichlid, and it's one that I don't think you can have a discussion about pet fish without talking about this particular cichlid.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I'm talking
I'm
about.
pretty sure I know which one you're talking about, and I'm glad we got there.
Yeah, it's the one where people come into the store and say, "Yeah, I want a badass fish like a piranha or an Oscar," and our immediate response to that is, "Well, what would you like? A badass fish or a piranha or an Oscar?" But I'm going to talk about Oscars.
The peak of the water puppy.
The peak, yes. Mine were Brutus and Othello.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. And I bought them at a local grocery store that at the time, actually they still carry fish. I don't know if they still carry Oscars. I guess I haven't noticed in a while. They must. But, I bought them when they were little 2-inch, 1.5-inch Oscars. That's how you, that's why people buy fish like Oscars, because you go into the store, and at 1.5 inches or 2 inches long, they are jumping out of the water to try to get your attention.
Yeah.
It's the proverbial puppy in the pet store jumping out of the cage. Look at me, take me home.
Pick me, pick me.
Pick me. Right. And that's exactly what Oscars do. And so when I was in college, that's exactly what I did. And then I did everything wrong and bad, and they still lived a long time.
They're Oscars.
They're Oscars. They're brutally hardy.
They will forgive you for almost anything.
Right. Even feeder fish. I fed them feeder fish a lot, which, y'all know how we feel about feeder fish out there.
And if you don't, shame on you. No.
Yeah. Yeah. But we had them.
It sums up to don't do it.
Don't do it. We had them really well trained. You could hold a goldfish 4 or 5 inches above the tank, and just like at the dolphin show, the Oscars would jump out of the water and grab it out of your hand, which, when I was in college, the girls loved that trick until my roommate did it, and it actually jumped out, and he panicked and said, "Oh, shit, oh, shit, oh, shit." Sorry, I just...
that move backfired.
Mm-hmm. He freaked out. They freaked out. The fish freaked out. Right.
That's how you go from the cool guy with the fish to the creepy guy with the fish.
But the other fun thing about Oscars, right? When I got home, I knew something had happened because the Oscar was on the bottom of the tank looking up all mad. Not on the bottom of the tank sad or hurt.
No.
Right? But Oscars, when we would do a water change, they didn't like water changes, and they would let us know. They would be on the bottom of the tank like, "You're a jerk. Why'd you do that to me?
How dare you let me almost kill myself?"
Yeah. 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 So the personality of those fish are amazing. Now, the reason I started that out with do you want a badass fish or do you not want a badass fish? People assume predators are quote unquote mean or tough. And all fish, given the opportunity, will eat little fish. I've watched female guppies hunt down, eat
their own babies.
They're going to eat the babies, right?
Oh, that's a badass fish.
That's a badass fish. Yeah. Oscar's natural food in the wild, they're specialized crayfish feeders. That's what they really want to eat.
Krill's a decent substitute for that in captivity.
Right. But so is anything.
True.
Yeah. Ours like popcorn. We tried an M&M once. They ate it and kept spitting it out until the candy coating was gone, and once the chocolate was there, they didn't want it anymore.
Oh, that's funny.
It did eat a pencil eraser.
Probably died with that pencil eraser. It's still in its stomach.
No, we found it 3 months later. Yep.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out pencil erasers are more appetizing than chocolate to a fish.
Right. Didn't like popcorn, though. We tried. I did all of those things wrong, and I don't remember how old those Oscars were. I think I ended up... No, when I moved... After college, I moved down to the Keys, and I sold them back to a pet store. So they would have been 3 years old at that point, but they should live 10 or 12 years pretty easily. And they're great pet fish. They're fun. They're cool. I'm going to say almost, because if you don't, I'm not going to think that there's something wrong with you as a fish keeper. But almost every fish keeper at some point should keep Oscars. But don't feed them feeder fish. They'll beg just as much for pellet food as they will for feeder fish. And it's way healthier. They're not that tough. They're not aggressive.
Well, here's the thing that a lot of people don't think about is that predatory animals in general, how do I want to phrase this? They're more calculating than herbivorous animals because they have they eat something that can fight back.
Right.
And so a lot of people are like, oh, they're tough. Or in our case, you and I would say, actually, they're much more reserved because they can do the calculus and go, that fight's not worth it.
Not worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Where herbivorous fish may be more dependent on maintaining a certain territory that they feed off of.
Yeah.
For
So-
sure. And against more things.
Right. So often, like, Mbuna, the example of hyper aggressive.
That is one of the baddest assest fish we ever have.
Yeah, and
They're
you're
mean.
going to drop some feeder fish in them for them to eat? No, it would kill them. They're herbivores.
Right. It's bad for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would argue that Oscars are far more calculating. And even though they know they can win a white fight, they have decided that the cost to them is not worth the
Yeah.
time or the energy.
Yeah, but I put other fish in with them at different times in their Oscar lives, and the like another fish goes, "What? Let's go!" And the Oscar like, "No, don't hurt me!" And they go shy in the corner and sulk, like, "Why are you being mean?" That's Oscars. They're not.
So much drama.
They do, yeah. That's the drama, but that's part of their endearing character as well as that drama.
It's like when you have that big, giant, like 120-pound dog, and you're like, why are you scared of everything?
Yeah, exactly. That's an Oscar.
But that, variability in their temperament is what makes them fun pets to me. Like, more fun than the other big cichlids.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you put them in with a red devil cichlid, the red devil's going to kill them and then going to be looking at you like, what? But the Oscar can accept so much more gray area in that. Like, it'll play with you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. If you want badass, get a red devil, get a convict. Those are badass.
Right?
Yeah.
Convict would kill anything on our lists.
Right. A red jewel cichlid. I mean, talk about an aggressive cichlid. Whew. Or Parachromis dovii, a wolf cichlid. Those will break glass.
Monsters.
Monsters. Not an Oscar. They're cool. They're fun. They're good pets.
That's a fun one. All right. So for my next one, I set myself the challenge of how do you do this on a nano scale? What is the fish?
Ooh, good call.
Because
nano pets.
So many of our customers are keeping tanks 10 gallons or below.
Yeah.
And for me, I think probably the most fun I could have with like a single pet fish in that size of tank. I thought about bettas. That's a really good option. But to me, the dwarf gouramis.
Fun.
Super receptive to training, super interesting behaviors, so easy to get them to like shoot water out at a target or swim through hoops and that kind of thing. They're just super responsive, personable fish that are really fun to watch.
And they're smart. Surprisingly, for the size that they are.
Yeah, personally, I prefer a honey gourami, but I've definitely seen more pet-like behaviors from the just regular domestic dwarfed gourami.
And they're pretty.
They are really pretty. Flashy, gorgeous, fun, easy, hardy fish.
What size tank would you say, like, okay, I want to do, they're going to kind of, well, no, they're going to be, by themselves would be just fine, wouldn't
Yeah.
they? You just like a betta.
They're not afraid of anything, really.
But bigger than a betta tank, you probably want to be at least in the 5 to 10 gallon range.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
I feel like if you had the right, like those 3-gallon cubes, not with the 2.2s that we have downstairs, but I've seen 3-gallon cubes where I'm like, I feel like you could do a honey gourami in one of those.
Yeah.
I think you'd need a little bit more space for a dwarf gourami, but a honey gourami I think would be fine in a 3-gallon cube.
If you decided you really didn't want a betta, you wanted to go honey gourami, I don't think I would raise my eyebrow at you.
No.
I feel like if you're going with a dwarf gourami, it would need a name like an old English king, like
Yes.
a Henry or
Richard.
a Geoffrey or a Richard.
Richard, but only because it's got a great abbreviation.
Charlemagne.
Charlemagne would be good. That would be very good.
Yes.
Yeah. George wouldn't be good, but King George would work.
Yeah, they do have little dog syndrome. Like, they think
Yeah.
they're a lot bigger
Right.
than they are, so they need a very grand name.
If it's a name that works for a French bulldog,
Caesar.
it would. Yes, Caesar. It would work for a dwarf gourami. I
So
agree.
really, it doesn't need a kingly name. It needs like an emperor name. Charlemagne and Caesar and Alexander the Great.
Ooh, how about Khan?
Ooh, that would be
Yeah.
good.
A dwarf gourami named Khan. Yeah. That'd be a good one. I like it.
Yep.
Dwarf gouramis. Good call.
All right, well, I'm going to counter that. I'm going to say better Persephone.
Oh, interesting. Because that's like not nano, micro.
Yeah, I honestly think that if you were like I want to keep a pair of these in a 2-gallon tank, I'd be like, not a 2.5, a 2-gallon. I'm like, yeah, you can do that.
I agree.
It might be one of the better ways to keep them, to be honest, if you really want to see them.
They don't get big, but my first wild bettas were actually a pair of Betta Persephone, and their names were, oh my goodness, Adonis, and I'm forgetting the other female involved in this love triangle. So in Greek mythology, there was a love triangle between Adonis, Aphrodite. No, it was Aphrodite and Adonis, and then Persephone.
Oh, yeah. Because she's like
perfect.
the third wheel there.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So calling a Betta Persephone Aphrodite's is a little bit of a slap in the face.
A little bit. But Aphrodite in particular, she was very outgoing, fearless. I have never seen a fish that small that was so unflinching at literally everything. When I would do water changes, I think it was the second water change I did in the tank, she started the habit of following my hand around to make sure I didn't touch any of her stuff.
Wow, that's cool.
And I was just like, that was like, I had always been kind of like interested in wild bettas. And so starting off with something small like that was perfect for me. But just that much personality in something so small, that's immediately, I was like, I got to find more. Like, and that was the snowball effect there for me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
those two, man, there was all sorts of weird stuff. Adonis was much more reserved, but he was like, he would watch from afar, just be like, yeah, you're fine out there, sweetie, but I'm staying back here though. It was
Yeah,
great
you
to watch.
go tell him.
Yeah, exactly.
We talk a lot about how cool wild bettas are, and the wild type. I'm going to say not wild bettas, but wild type bettas, because once they're in a tank, they're not wild anymore, right? But wild type bettas around here, and you can't say that enough. I mean, it's such an amazing group of fish, and intelligent and capable of individual personalities. It's the reason Betta splendens is as popular as it is. But all of the ones in that genus deserve that same kind of reputation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Every betta I've ever met, whether domestic, whether wild, and this is hundreds if not thousands, were unique individuals, and they were all would be fun pets in their own right.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep on the betta theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, I'm going back to named fish, and I, off the top of my head, can think of 3 named bettas that I had. I had King Triton, Picasso, and Indy, which Indy is indigo, or Indigo Montoyo. Right. King Triton was
When
bright.
he's in trouble.
Yeah.
These are all domestic strain Splendens.
These are all Splendens. These are all, good basic bettas.
Just checking
but
that off my
really,
list
I have to tell a little bit of an embarrassing story about the betta we had named Picasso. So Picasso was kept in a kiddie pool in my dorm room, along with some guppies, occasional small turtle, which is a really bad idea, and some goldfish sometimes, but those would all, have various stages of being there and not being there. But Picasso was there for a while. And one of the things that would happen, and this was like 2 years of keeping Picasso in this kiddie pool, we would sit around the kiddie pool with our feet in it sometimes and just pick up rocks and toss them in to the pool. Just pick up, like sitting around having a couple of drinks. Wait, we wouldn't drink because we were in college. We were too young to drink.
You're going to retroactively get expelled from your Christian school.
I know, right? Yeah. So sitting around, tossing rocks in, little rocks, right? You wouldn't think they would do any damage. But Picasso got thunked in the head by one of those rocks one day. And man, it happened to a guppy one time, and the guppy shook it off and was fine. And so, okay, it turns out it's fine. That'll happen. But that did not happen to Picasso. Picasso died from getting hit in the head with a rock.
It's such a sad story.
I know, but there's more to the story. So, being the we'll call it interesting young college students that we were, we decided that
Inquisitive.
Picasso needed a proper send-off. We had a balcony on our college apartment at that point.
I already don't like where this is going.
And we had bottle rockets.
Oh no.
So we decided that the lift of a bottle rocket was not going to be enough, but we thought 3 should be plenty. So we strapped the poor body of Picasso into these 3 bottle rockets, wrapped him in place with, I don't even know what we used, whether it was a rubber band or string. It was, at this point, a number of years ago. And we lit the fuse. And I do remember that the 3 rockets did ignite at about the same time.
Oh no.
It turns out bottle rockets do not have much lift.
Oh no.
Right. So the 3 of us on the balcony, which was a small balcony, watched this set of bottle rockets with this poor body of this fish named Picasso in the middle in slow motion go up about 2.5 or 3 feet and just hover there for a minute with those rockets trying to get it to launch. And now fortunately it turned and shot off downward into the bushes.
Not back into the apartment.
And not back into the apartment. It didn't blow up in our faces like that. But yeah, that was the send-off that Picasso got.
You blew him up.
Launched into snowy bushes on a cold Saturday night in a college dorm room.
So that's not a Viking funeral. It's a Martian funeral. What do you call that? Well, that's a really terrible story, but a very memorable pet fish.
Right. But right now my wife has Indy, and this is probably, Betta's had to come up because I think that if it comes down to it, the absolute, without a question, without a doubt, most popular pet fish is a betta.
Yeah.
If these didn't come up, they would have been the last thing I brought up because that was number 1 on my list.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It had to.
I didn't put it on my list because I kind of felt like it was a given. It was on my alternates just in case.
I know one of the big box stores around here gets 250 bettas in every 2 weeks.
Oof. That's actually kind of terrifying.
It is terrifying because, all of those have died.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, if not before they went home, shortly afterwards, probably.
Mm-hmm. A couple of them do okay, but most of the time they do. But bettas deserve that place because they are the right beginner fish. They are the right desktop fish. I don't know that there's there are some betta choices out there, or some other choices out there.
There it is.
That was coming.
I was waiting.
Yeah, it's...
But the easiest, most accessible desktop 2.5 gallon fish.
For me, of any individual species of fish, Betta splendens holds the distinction for the most named fish that I still remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You listed off your list. The 4 that pop into my head are Renly, Norman, Violet, and Angel.
That's perfect.
Heck, I still remember Ken's female betta named Betty, who was such an absolute nightmare. He couldn't keep snails in the tank. She was psychotic. She would jump out of the tank to bite him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and how do you have a better pet than that?
Yeah, right. This wants to bite me. It's cute.
It's hilarious.
It was she was introduced to me as Betty the bitch.
Yes.
By the way.
Betty the bitch. Yeah.
That memory sticks in my head, and I never even met that fish, but she rippled out like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so quick, the elevator pitch on what so many people do wrong with bettas.
Put a heater in the tank.
Put a heater in the tank.
Heater.
Heater.
Okay, next.
2.5 gallons or more with a heater.
Yes.
Honestly, a heater is, genuine and honest, is more important to me with a betta than a filter is.
100%.
Oh, completely.
100%.
I would almost say a filter is almost completely unnecessary. And a heater is 100% completely necessary unless you constantly keep your house or apartment at 80 degrees or warmer.
Yeah.
Because the little vessel of water is going to be 2 to 5 degrees cooler than ambient air. Mm-hmm. So if you keep it at 80, you'll be 75 to 80 to 78. You're good. If you keep your house at 80 degrees, you do not need a heater. Otherwise, if you're having a betta without a heater, You are not being fair to that betta.
Yeah. You can fill like an entire search engine with the number of things that can go wrong with a betta. But if I get a call and somebody says, my betta's acting funny, and I say, do you have a heater in the tank? It's like 75% that they don't.
Oh, at least, yeah.
The difference between a betta, like the same fish in a non-heated situation and in a heated situation, it's an entire, like, you're unlocking that fish's personality because it has the energy to actually have fun now.
It's
Yeah.
not just going to survive better. It's going to be an interactive pet.
It
Yes.
reanimates.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, what was the... Sorry, I had a call last week where somebody had a perfect phrase, and it was like, she went and got a heater, and then I got a call and she was like, oh, he's like a pretty princess now.
That's perfect.
Like, yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly. That's how bettas should be. They're amazing fish, and they deserve much better than they get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you have a heater. Next, feed less.
Feed less.
Those are the two things.
Yes.
You do those two things, your betta is fine.
Get them out of the damn cup.
Yes.
Yeah, I use strong language.
We've been using a lot of strong language for how light this one is.
We have been a little feisty tonight,
Yes,
haven't we?
we're having fun.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Pet fish are fun.
But get them out of the damn cup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And not by buying them in a
Right.
cup.
You are not. That's another point that absolutely needs to be made. If you go into a store and you see a fish in not good conditions, you are not rescuing the fish by buying it. You are condemning 10 more or 100 more.
You are telling that store that what they're doing is okay.
Keep doing
and
it.
they'll keep buying more.
Right.
And I know there's some anarchists out there that are going to shoplift them instead. The store actually doesn't care.
No.
It will still count as a sale.
Right. Yep.
The end.
There we go. The end. Okay, we did
Oh,
that.
wait, do you have more?
No.
Okay.
You were right. We're talking about fun stuff.
Yes.
There we go. We went on a betta rant.
Okay.
I love bettas.
Yes.
Indy's cool. Oh, and Indy, by the way, reacts to Robin's voice.
Aw.
Just like Biggie does. So Robin, it is Robin's fish, and Indy is a beautiful betta on the hutch in our house right now. We've had him for 3.5 years now, and he's showing some signs, but he still looks good.
For a veil-tail betta, 3.5 years, plus he was probably about a year old when you got him. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but I mean that's not good because that means,
Yeah.
right. But he's still cool.
Yes, good fish.
He's a good fish.
Okay. This one I feel like is going to throw you guys for a little bit of a loop because I kind of sat down to thinking about, like, this isn't about me. Like, if I'm talking to customers and I'm trying to get a sense of what fish are truly beloved, like, what fish can you tell they get really warm when they talk about, they smile, they talk about their specific personality, how much they love to see them. And I went to plecos.
Really?
You would be amazed at how many people absolutely adore their plecos.
Wow. Yeah, you threw me for a loop. I'm like, that's like this fish you never see that does a good job.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But people who I know who have plecos, they're thrilled when they see them. They often can be trained to be hand-fed or at least eat out of your hands if you're patient enough.
That's a lot of patience.
And they're a blast to watch. They're very individualized. They're very reactive. If a pleco doesn't like something, you're going to know it. If he loves something, you're going to know it.
That's true.
They have a lot of personality.
But they don't have eyes that they don't
I
speak
know.
to you with their eyes like puffers.
But there are definitely people who their bristlenose pleco is their absolute favorite member of their team.
I want to meet these
Just
people and I want to shake their hand
personality-wise.
because I think that's awesome.
She's right. I haven't met people that talk about their plecos the way that you and I talk about pandagoras. Mm-hmm. Which is amazing to me because I'm like, wow, that is a lot more effort to get that out of that animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the community tank, which fish has a name?
The pleco probably does.
The little vacuum.
You're right.
We had a vacuum.
Hoover or Bissell or
Yes. Well, this is West Michigan, of course.
right. So it's got to be Bissell. Wow. Dyson.
Ooh, Dyson's a good pleco name.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just there's people. Everybody has affection for their plecos, whether they just think they did a job or they're like, oh, there he is.
I think that's great. I'm totally getting it. Oh, Rainbow and Kirby.
Kirby, that's cute. Yes, and unfortunately, I made that realization while I was talking to somebody who breeds common plecos. So I guess take it with a grain of salt. Yes,
I'm not. Really?
Yes, I'm nodding my head. Yes, I know who she's talking about.
That's not easy.
Yeah.
Nobody does that on accident.
Yeah, no, she's doing it on purpose. She
And
really likes them.
Successfully? Wait, she's actually gotten baby common plecos.
Supposedly.
Okay, you're not saying that part with confidence, so that I want to know more about because
So I've been told.
yeah, because they burrow into sandbanks like 3 foot long
Interesting.
tunnels in sandbanks.
Maybe she doesn't have what she thinks she has.
It could be.
Like, because there are a few things that I have heard of as the common pleco. Maybe it's one of like the sailfin ones or something like that.
Yeah, all of those though are
Those deep burrowers?
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
but
people can breed those. What are they though? Those weird saltwater goby eel things that supposedly,
engineer gobies?
Yes, that supposedly like
They're
make,
not
like,
eels, they're cichlids.
Engineer gobies? They're not oh, they are close to cichlids,
No,
aren't they?
they are cichlids. They are in the family Cichlidae.
I think they're in
That's
the order
sweet.
Cichlidiformes.
Oh, and maybe.
Order. Yeah,
Yes.
you're right. Okay.
So they're cichlids or close to. Anyway,
Right. Yeah.
That's one of my
Digression.
fun facts.
Anyway, like I could understand someone being able to breed those, even though like the wild, only because the engineer gobies still blows my mind because I'm like those things
Yeah.
dig extensive tunnels.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to talk to her more about it next time I see
Yeah.
her.
And with how commonly we talk about bristlenose, maybe she just has some really good.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a group of miscellaneous plecos that are doing something,
Right. Right. Fascinating.
Yes.
I want to know more.
But also, if it's that much effort, why are you going through that much effort to breed a common pleco? Please
Yeah,
don't.
Please don't. We don't want more of those. We want less of those.
They're even talking about keeping them in a pond and heating the pond.
Whew. All right.
Anyway, really often, but so yeah, plecos as pets. I didn't think about it until I thought about it, and then I got it.
You convinced me. I like it. What's your next one?
Clown loaches.
Heck yeah.
I'm not sure I've ever told this story on the podcast, but it came up over the weekend, and I was like, it's time. I had a clown loach that would play dead, and I'm fully convinced that he was doing it just to get, like, as a prank on me. Because, so, if you don't know this about clown loaches, they can wash out their color.
Oh yeah. Quite well.
So he would go out into the open, lay on his side, and wash out his color. And then he would
In
wait.
the open?
In the open. And he would wait for me to, like, I would tap on the glass, no response. He would, like, put in some food, no response. He would wait for me to stick my hand in. And sometimes I would be halfway to pulling him out. Then he would pull out all of his colors and be like, surprise!
Haha, fooled you again.
And so, like, just the fact that it happened, like, 5 or 6 times, at that point, like, I feel like he was doing it just to mess with me.
It sure would feel like that.
Yeah, and so I never gave him a name, but I should have.
Okay, so I'm literally trying to theorize why it would do that, right? And here's my and maybe this is just a crazy rant, right?
Yeah.
But loaches are scavengers.
Mhm.
Clown loaches are extremely communal fish. They don't like to be alone. So maybe they play dead to try and attract other clown loaches.
It's possible. There was a group of 6 of them in this tank, though.
Oh.
This was, and it was the
And
same.
just one would do it?
The same one every time.
Well, that doesn't make sense at all.
You're telling me.
That sounds like loach behavior. That doesn't make sense at all. Why are you doing that? It's pretty funny, though. Oh, what is goofier than a big clown loach either?
love
Oh,
big
they're
fat
perfect
loach.
when they're big and goofy.
When I was younger, I had a decent-sized tank in my bedroom. I don't even remember how big it was anymore. And it was just this group of clownfish. And I remember on multiple occasions falling asleep to them clicking at each other.
Yeah.
Like, that group of clowns was
They have some pretty intense, meaningful conversations.
Oh my goodness.
Dramatic.
Yeah.
So dramatic. But that group of clown loaches was one of the best groups of fish I've ever had in my life. There was a time before this predates me getting into bettas, but pre-bettas, clown loaches were my favorite fish, and that group is why.
I can totally see it. Yeah.
So
The only challenge with clown loaches, two challenges. They get big,
yes,
Real big.
real big,
And chunky.
they want to be in a group. 6 is that's big enough. That's a great. But I mean, you need 180 gallons
oh yeah,
for a group of 6 clown loaches,
It's worth it.
and they're going to live for 25 or 30 years
oh yeah.
or more.
I will admit I did not have the appropriately sized tank.
Yeah,
I was
a lot of us did that when we were young. Now,
I was-
there was an excuse then. Now there's no excuse.
Now there's no excuse. I was overcompensating by doing large water changes because I could tell that they were, as they get bigger, they get chonky,
Yeah,
and even then I knew something was happening that I should be accommodating.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I loved those fish.
they're super cool.
Yeah.
I had clown loaches for a while, or not clown loaches. I had botella chata, a pair of those that were just they were. It was a 40 long with a group of Chopre Danios, a group of Apistos, and then this pair of botella chatas. And that pair were so fun to watch. Constantly, they did not interact with any other fish in the tank, but they were constantly interacting with each other.
And to steal the show in that tank with neon orange
Yeah.
Chopre Danios and Apistogramma, which are some of the most beautiful freshwater fish. And a lot of time, I bet you're watching the yo-yo loaches.
Oh, for sure. Yep, for sure. Yep, they were great.
I do have a soapbox to stand on here. So this group of clown loaches is what taught me the importance of quarantine. I introduced a group of tiger barbs that looked very healthy. And then 3 days later, everyone had ick.
And ick for a loach is a different disease than ick for anything else,
Yes.
really.
Lost the entire group.
That's what happened to my botella chata as well.
Yeah, if you ever wonder why we do things the way we do them here, these are the stories.
Yes.
And honestly, that is part of why I went to bettas, because I was like, that's it. Like, just a fish that I can keep by itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't
get
have
it.
to worry about it. Unless you're quarantined, then you don't have to worry about it either.
Or you go to a store that quarantines for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, good soapbox.
Yeah. Sorry. Like you mentioned, they lived very long. And I was like, they didn't live their full lives because I made a big mistake.
Yeah.
And that wasn't fair to them.
Yeah. Yeah, mine too. It was completely because I did those fish wrong.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So the elephant in the room when it comes to pet fish, and it hasn't come up yet, and I'm going to say the second most popular pet fish. And a fish that we all hate to love and love to hate.
Well, this is my Eat My Words episode. And I'm pretty sure we have the same last one.
Probably true. Yeah. So, of course, I'm going to start out with a story, right?
Of course.
My wife.
My
loves-
wife.
My wife.
Sorry, if you're going to say it like that,
My wife.
I can't help it. I can't help it.
Oh, she loves this group of fish. She had her tank with this group of fish in it for a while, and it was notable which ones were going to be her favorite with how quickly she was going to name them. And there were two in particular, the Puggle and Quasimodo.
If that doesn't tell you what group of fish we're talking about,
Right.
I don't know what will.
Those were by far her favorite fish. We're talking about goldfish. And these were goldfish we were doing everything we can to try and do right. This was a 75-gallon tank. We had 4 fish in it, and it didn't go well. But that's not what we're going to talk about today, because we're going to rant about goldfish.
Yes.
So first, I want to talk about Quasimodo, right? My wife comes up with these names for things that just they pop into her head, and like I said, the sooner she names them, the more she's going to love them. And I, at my old shop, we got in this group of assorted goldfish, and in one of these fish was a brown bubble eye that I think we sat on that fish for 5 months. We probably had 2 other groups of goldfish go through, and there was this brown bubble eye.
No one wants the brown ones.
No one wants the brown bubble eye. And so, you know what? I'm taking the brown bubble eye home to Robin. And brown paper bag, fish in the bag, right? I brought it in. Honey, I got you a surprise. Really? What'd you get? What'd you get? And I pulled the bag out, and she went, Quasimodo. Not like, oh, look, the fish and his name is Quasimodo. Like, oh, there you are. I wondered what happened to you, Quasimodo.
I've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
That fish and your wife knew each other in past lives.
They did.
Yeah.
Completely. They did. And it was, I will never forget that moment of Quasimodo. Yeah.
That's the goldfish thing.
That's the goldfish thing. They've got the big googly eyes. Even the ones that aren't googly eyed goldfish have these big googly eyes that stare at you.
Even the ones that don't have eyes, like, you still get it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. The puggle was a...
I love how it's the puggle. And
The
not
puggle.
Yes.
Yes,
Right?
its name was the puggle.
Yes.
Not puggle, but it was the puggle.
I love it.
Yes. Which would be, that's a pug...
Beagle.
Beagle? Yeah, a stupid-looking dog. Sorry, puggle owners. And the puggle was a stupid-looking goldfish, but that's part of their charm, which I get with a pug beagle mix. It's because they're stupid-looking dogs, and that's why you love them. And that's why she loved the puggle so much. And the puggle knew her and recognized her. I would go down, and this is back when I still had a fish room, and the tank was in the fish room. And I would go down, and I'd be working in the fish room, and like the goldfish was like, "Hey, what's up?" And go back to what they're doing, and they'd go back to sucking on the glass or sucking on the rocks or whatever they do. And Robin would come down, and this like the puggle would like swim as fast as it could, and a puggle like a fan-tailed, bubble-eyed lion head, a Ryukin. Arch, like
That's
one's a
lion
straight
head.
back.
Lion head is like arched back, squishy head.
Okay.
Ryukin is like triangle face.
So it was a bubble-eyed Ryukin.
Okay.
Yeah, but no dorsal fin. That Ryukin's have a dorsal fin.
Ranchus and lion
Ranchu.
heads are the no dorsal fin, and pearl scales, which I think are a type of one of those.
Pearl scales has nothing to do with fins.
But I think it also has the arched back.
Okay.
Anyway.
It was
Probably a ranchu.
Bubble-eyed, no fin, probably a ranchu, bubble-eyed ranchu. And that fish swimming at full bore was a little bit like a steamroller in 5th gear. But I'm coming.
I'll get there. Just give me some time.
Yeah. Personality, interaction. What were the characteristics, Amy, that...
Oh, I said interactive, outgoing, singular, and human focused. I mean, you could just, that's the description of goldfish.
That is the description of goldfish.
And even the commons
Yeah. Yeah.
still have that personality, but
Right.
not like the fancies do. Like,
I
that's just
know.
a really special thing.
One of the big unfortunate things about goldfish, and don't worry, I won't rant long, but the fancier they are, the more delicate they are. The closer to the common they are, the less delicate they are.
Yeah, we always tell people, like, wholesale goldfish, farm-bred goldfish, they're weak. But
Yeah.
even really, really carefully and deliberately bred goldfish are weak.
Right.
They require babying.
They do.
You need
They
to make
do.
them a pet.
Yep.
And a fancy goldfish loves sitting in your hand to eat. It's like, oh, thank you, human. This is a great
You're
spot to be.
holding me up because my fins are so distorted and messed up that... Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I mean, I just like to be touched by you. But they
Yeah.
do learn to recognize their people. You know, goldfish keepers are a rare breed.
those fish, those people that get into those fish, the
They
dedication.
love them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a fish that could live for 60 years. When you do them right, y'all know us here. We're wild type people. I mean, that's the fish that really, I mean, the Ultim Angels to me over the Scalar is, there's no question as to which one of those I like the most. The wild type bettas over a betta splendens. I love me some betta splendens, but man, give me a macrostoma or give me a Persephone or give me a betta brownie. That's one of my favorites. A goldfish, a big, fancy, goofy goldfish. Man, there's something about them.
Goldfish have, I think, almost as long of a history with humans as dogs do.
Right about 1000 BC with goldfish, I believe, is the era. I think dogs go back further than that.
They do definitely go back further, but at least in proportionate time, let's say, compared to the rest of the fish we're working with. Because bettas are 200 years.
I think that's probably true.
That number got pushed back recently.
Really?
Yes. Genetic
Cool.
data indicates that it's closer to maybe 800-900 years.
Whoa.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, that's a big pushback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we invented goldfish.
Yeah.
They're here to stay. They are the pet fish that humanity has come up with.
Yeah. Yeah. They're good. I one of my favorite kind of fish people are the parent who was at a fair and the kid threw a quarter in a cup and won a goldfish. And then they did it right. And for 2, 4, 6 years, they've done everything they can to try and possibly keep this crazy fish that should never have been given away, that should never have gone into a bowl. Goldfish bowl's bad. But these parents do what they can to try to do the best with it. And then one day they call us and go, I don't know what to do. We love having fish, but
Yeah.
I know a 7-inch fish in a 20-gallon tank is that's not right. What do we do? The only way they got to that point is to care that much. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting here having this conversation about goldfish, and I'm staring at a book that I remember getting. I think it's 1977, and this is the Starting Right with Goldfish book from TFH. Yeah, so the goldfish book was actually written in 1973, or published in 1973, and it was my first fish book.
Wow.
Right. I just realized that like right now that was my first fish book. It was not the book that I got from the library accidentally.
That was like the first fish book.
Yeah. Yeah. Goldfish are so many people's first exposure to keeping fish, keeping aquariums.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I wonder how many people, like if it was their first exposure and they were done right, like I wonder how many people would keep them longer and keep fish longer.
Yeah. Often my response when someone's like, oh, I want to try something, like I'm getting into fish keeping and I want to keep I'm going to try goldfish. I'm like, oh, you're starting off on the hard end of the spectrum, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've only done goldfish, so, I've only done like the really easy stuff. Wrong.
Yeah. And that's why, like, that's what makes them such a good pet. Like, you have to be dedicated to keep them properly and to have them like that.
And for 60 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's goldfish. I had to go off on goldfish. Puggle.
I can't believe you didn't bring up
Quasi.
Aretha even. Aretha was great.
Aretha was great.
She was here, so that's why I know her.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Aretha was that was the last of the goldfish. Aretha was very cool. That was after we moved the entire fish room here, and Aretha had to come here as well. Mm-hmm. She was beautiful. Aretha was one, so that's notable because it took a while to come up with Aretha's name. Mm-hmm. And so I think that if the Puggle or Quasi would have been the last goldfish, I don't know that we would have gotten rid of the goldfish tank. But Aretha Robin loved Aretha. There's no question. But not like the Puggle or Quasimodo.
Yeah. And it's just so difficult to consistently get good goldfish in that it just kind of isn't a priority. It's a very specific tank. It's a specialty.
Yeah. Upcoming podcast episode, we should do a full-on goldfish episode.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Do some research on strains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Probably time.
And try and get some of the true history there. That's what is really fascinating.
Yeah. And I genuinely like goldfish. I think they're great. I think they're amazing. Mm-hmm. So, all right, Amy, what's your last one?
That was my last one.
That was goldfish was your last one?
Honestly.
Oh, so we combined the two.
And my alternates have all been done. I guess I can use one of my others. My only other alternate for freshwater wet pets, not fish.
Uh-oh.
I've got to slide an invert in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Crayfish.
Crayfish as a pet. Yeah, no doubt. Mm-hmm. Interactive.
Personable.
They recognize people.
They're hilarious to watch.
Yep, for sure.
They beg a great name. They're super hardy. You can keep them in a 10-gallon tank for the most part.
I knew someone in college who had a pet crayfish named Mr. Pinchy.
Of course he did. Mr.
Yeah.
Pinchy's a great name.
I was like, of course, yeah, exactly.
We had those. We had the CPOs in last week. What's the orange Mexican crayfish?
Oh yeah.
You probably didn't even see them because we sold them that day because they were so freaking cute.
Really? No, I didn't see them. How many did we have?
3. We sold 3 of those in one day.
Yeah, I never saw them.
Yeah.
I never saw them, by the way, because they came in on a day I wasn't here.
Wow.
They're so cute. It's something that you can really watch at work.
Do we have more coming?
No, I got them on a whim, our thrift supplier.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently we should do that more often, huh?
Apparently. I just like, oh, cool, they have them. People like those.
Yeah.
Then they were
Tomorrow's
gone.
Wednesday, and we got a budget, so maybe we should do it.
Maybe.
We should look closely at this.
We can always use more rocks.
Yeah, I like good rocks. Crayfish, is that the best freshwater interactive invertebrate pet?
I think so.
Maybe a rabbit snail.
Or in a mono shrimp, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
Mono shrimp definitely have some attitude in a community tank.
Yeah. I remember my funniest mono shrimp factoid was somebody who said, I get tired of a mono shrimp because they only live for like a year or two. Mine are at least 10, if not 12 years old.
That's amazing.
Yep. So no, they don't live for a year or two. They live longer than that.
Yeah, their life expectancy in the wild is around 10, I think.
Okay. So mine are pushing it.
Yeah, but they're also not going to get eaten by something.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe that's what I need for my tank at home is a new, like a pet fish. Maybe that's what.
Something to draw you back into it.
Yeah.
You'd have room for lots of different options.
Yeah. Charles, do you have one more?
We got one more.
Because we're going to revisit this. That's how we're going to close out. Is we're going to talk about my fish tank because it's all about me. I'm just kidding. All right. What's your last one?
So this one comes with a backstory.
Those are the best ones.
So I don't know how much Ben has heard the saga of me trying to figure out what's the wild betta that I'm going to do long term at home.
I get the
Because I'm honing down.
Well, that's the conversation we're about to have with Ben in a minute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect lead in, by the way.
I hear the conflict within.
And so I'm simplifying the hobby down for me at home because I want time for other things. Not that I'm getting out of the hobby. I want to do fewer things, but do them better.
Yeah.
My wife quoted Parks and Rec, and she was just like, yeah, you want to whole ass one thing instead of half-assing multiple things.
Right. I get it.
Exactly. And so,
and you do fish here all day, every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get your fix.
I created a criteria of fish characteristics that would be the ideal betta species for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went on this, then I ignored that list. I went and did some other things. I did some research on other groups for other videos, other podcasts. And then I came back to that list and I had this moment of panic.
Wait. Ocelota?
No. I came back to this list.
I know what this is going to be.
Do ya?
Yeah.
Because it's not a betta.
What?
Yeah, I came back to this list and I realized that any species of Pelvichromis would score better on every single criteria
Really?
I wrote down.
Wow. I can't genuinely, I cannot decide if I'm impressed or disappointed. Like, that is the genuine emotion I'm feeling right now.
Wait, you gotta say the list because he can't disagree with you either.
I wanted individual personalities. I wanted to be able to keep them in a group. I wanted sexual selection. I wanted, and I had a fourth one that I can't remember, and it's of course in the last notebook, not this one.
I thought the big decision was cichlids have pair bonds and bettas really don't.
That did help, yeah.
Yeah, because it's until you said that, I was like, oh, beta slata.
Yeah.
Like the whole time. Oh, beta slata. But pair bond.
Pair bonding. And parental care.
Yeah.
Not just mouth brooding.
Yeah.
Right.
So then I said, at that time, this was like 2 months ago, I decided that's when I started revisiting pelvic acromis because I'd had to do research for it for I can't remember what. And then I settled on, okay, so this is the ideal pelvic acromis for me. And I mentioned it offhand to Amy that for me it was pelvic acromis, crebensis, collection location, Maliwi, wild caught.
Yeah.
That's what we got in like 6 weeks ago.
Oh, I know exactly what we got in. And I know exactly why we got them in. I just forgot until right now.
So I took home 2 pairs.
Nice.
They're in it's that oddball 3-foot tank. I calculated its gallonage at 23.5 gallons.
Sweet.
And I haven't named them yet. They're definitely going to get names. I'm still figuring out their personalities. One female is very much a strong, independent woman. There is this male that has the personality of, I'll save you. Oh, wait, you've taken care of it already. There's this other male that I can only describe it as he reminds me of like, this is going to sound so mean, of like a wannabe like emo like lead singer.
Like Fall Out Boy.
Yes.
Right.
He's got that like moodiness. Oh my God. He's so funny. And then
A group of cichlids becomes a sitcom really quick.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I am loving this group of fish. I've set this tank up right next to where I sit on the couch so I can watch them. Because, and I'm so glad I brought this group of fish home because everyone's heard my story about the group of Unimaculata that I wish I'd kept. This is giving me all of the like group dynamic, drama, and individual personalities that I wanted. And I like every day I'm looking over and something ridiculous is happening and I love it.
Nice.
Every day. So that's the long story of me coming to about 2 months ago. I came to Amy in a panic, like, am I about to be a cichlid guy?
Yes, you remember before you started working here where you were like, no, I just don't really see the appeal of cichlids.
Yes. That is 100% true, by the way.
I will stand by this 100%. And the caveat being most of the time when people come in saying, I want cichlids, they're talking about African cichlids. Mm-hmm. And they're wrong. But I will stand by that there is a cichlid for everyone.
About 4 months ago, I would have disagreed with you. Today, I would say, yeah, you're right. You are 100% correct.
I thought I had you with a pistos, but that you moved to pelvic acromis instead of a pistos.
You know what?
Pistos are frustrating, though. They're difficult to get to pair.
That's true, but here's the thing that pelvic chromis had the edge for me.
Right.
It made them really interesting. So I've always been fascinated with sexual selection.
Yeah.
Pelvic chromis are weird because the female's the one that's trying to get the male's attention.
That's true. That's true.
And that like everything I like about a pistos, a little less frustration, and then you add in weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you add in purple, and then it's just
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is no purple episto. I get it.
I
get
love
it.
a good purple.
Yeah. Huh. Fascinating. I like it.
This was the list for me to be like, you know what? I'm gonna reveal the.
I'm so smug about this.
Yeah.
I guess I get to be too.
Yes.
Nice.
Here's the thing that
We brought him
really-
over to the dark side.
Did.
Here's the thing that really hurts about this, though. About a year ago, Amy literally said to me, you know what? I get the feel that you would really like pelvic chromis. Like, no joke, 100% serious, not exaggerating.
Yeah.
She literally did.
Yeah. She was not wrong.
No.
Right?
But in this case, I'm really happy to have been wrong
Mm-hmm.
because
For sure.
This is one of the coolest, most fun tanks to watch I've had since that group of Betta Unimaculata.
Yeah. I will always say that Apistos are my favorite group of cichlids. Pelvicochromis are not my second, but Nanochromis are.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's fair.
Yeah.
And they do pair better than Pistos do still.
It's true. Yep, it's true. I like it.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that you were kind of right. It's whatever fish you love, whatever fish you're really watching and trying to figure out that dynamic.
Whatever fish makes you happy. Well, at some point through this discussion, maybe I can try and figure out what is just the right fish for my tank at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to look for some suggestions out there. My tank at home is a 90-gallon. It's been set up for somewhere between 14 and 16 years, and I've lost track. And I have a group of inlay lake danios, or lake inlay danios, however they've been called now. I'm losing the scientific name right now. Inlay Cypris arapora or something along those lines.
It's Inlay Cypris auropurpurensis.
Auropurpurensis, thank you.
Where it's cyprinids from Lake Inlay that are purple and gold.
Yeah,
that's the
that's right.
translation of that name.
Right. I can't find more. I've had that group for way longer what their noted life expectancy is, and I'm down to 5. So it's time to do something new in there. And so I'm looking for suggestions on what's the right fish.
We could find you some more, but they're going to be 2 inches and they're not going to give you that, like,
I know.
this is what they are. You need something different.
It's still the right fish for the tank, though. I love them in there. But there we go. We're gonna crowdsource this one. Is it a pet fish? Is it some other fish that we've talked about in some of our podcasts that you so graciously listen to?
If you'd get them unprepared, I'd say you should take that little oddball peppermint pikehead or something like that.
No,
Maybe it's a dwarf pike, though. One would fit in that tank.
Yeah.
No?
I have dwarf pikes here.
Maybe you need a betta group.
Maybe. Maybe it's a better group. It's got to be a group that's going to fill out a 90.
That's going to fill out a 90,
Yeah.
take prepared foods, not be crazy high maintenance,
Yeah.
for the low-tech tank.
The low tech tank. Preferably not need a heater because those don't. They're down to like 65 this time of year and they're just fine. They get up to 75, 80 in the summer and they're fine. But that's not, I don't necessarily need that. I would be just fine putting heater in the tank if it's the right fish. But I'm throwing this out there. I want to hear suggestions. I want suggestions from all of you crazy people out there with all these really cool ideas.
And do you want slightly larger fish, or are you taking in nano suggestions
What
too?
I want are the right fish.
All right.
Yep. So I'll post some pictures.
Open call then.
Open call. I'll post some pictures. In fact, you know what we should do? We should post some pictures to watercolorsaquarium.com as well. There's the shameless plug we forgot to do at the beginning of the show.
Yes, please check out watercolorsaquariumgallery.com. If you're listening to this podcast and want to support us, that's a great way to do it. We carry a lot of the supplies that you'd normally be getting at the same price you'd usually be getting them for. Also cool merch, t-shirts, live plants, lots of fun stuff.
Yeah.
watercolorsaquariumgallery.com.
Check it out. Shameless plug. There we go.
Find us on social media too. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We've got a Watercolors Aquarium Gallery listeners group on Facebook. We've been really loving to see all the activity on there. It's been such a blast, and we really appreciate you guys.
We've also been appreciating the discussions around suggestions for podcast ideas, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
super
those have
helpful.
been great. Yep.
Makes it way easier on us, and we get the stuff that you guys want to listen to.
That's exactly the kind of feedback. Like, I'm directly, like, I don't care, like, addressing, because I'm like, man, that's the exact feedback that's so useful, because sometimes we'll sit here trying to be like, is this an interesting idea?
Right.
Is it not?
Yeah.
But to have literally one person
It helps.
say, yeah, that's fun. Do that. Like, we're doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I get to change my clothes. Not change my clothes, like go home and like put on some new pair of pants. How I
you get to do
close
that
the
every
show.
day.
Right. I realized after I said, wait, that came out wrong. No. I always say thank you so much for listening. but I'm going to change that because of some of the input we've been getting. Thank you to everyone all over the world who have been listening tonight. We really appreciate it. Let's have lots of fun and keep those hands wet.